Got questions about the Brazos, no more unknowns. Ever wonder where that water comes from or where it goes? We're unpacking the Brazos River.
You hit the water and everything goes white hot cold. It's like someone punched the air right out of your lungs. You try to snatch a breath, but you can't. Instead, your chest is heaving. You're gasping uncontrollably. And suddenly, the calm, familiar lake you were just admiring becomes a screaming, terrifying enemy. Cold water shock can cause a sudden, gut-wrenching reaction that scrambles your thinking and decision-making. And it happens so much faster than most people think. Many people assume that they have time if they fall into the water. So if a life jacket is the only thing that buys back those precious minutes, why? Given the stakes, do so many of us leave it stashed under a seat like a forgotten bag of chips? And look, we are in Texas, right? Land of 100-degree streaks where we're more familiar with heat strokes and dehydration. And yet, according to the National Weather Service, cold water shock can be just as severe and dangerous as a water temperature of 50 to 60 degrees as it is when the water is near freezing. Stay with us. The water's fine until it isn't. I'm Charlie Shugart, and I'm with the BRA's Public Information Office. Joining us today is Dylan Mayfield and Kyle Lewis out of the Brazos River Authority's Lake Granbury office. Dylan, Kyle, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Dylan, before we get into the weeds, tell us a little bit about your history with the BRA.
So I came to the BRA November 18th of last year, so coming up on my 1 year actually next week. So
Nice.
prior to that was 15 years with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, all in the Fort Worth district. So been around lakes for, 15, 16, 17, 18 years.
All right. Kyle, ball's in your court. Tell us a little bit about your history with the BRA.
February will be my 23rd year here.
Oh, congratulations.
All at Lake Granbury. Been in everywhere from law enforcement to permitting inspecting to environmental enforcement to project management, assistant reservoir manager now. So just kind of seen a lot of water go through the dam in the last 22, nearly 23 years.
Yeah, I bet. And done a little bit of everything along the
A
way.
little bit of everything.
For those who have never heard of Lake Granbury, tell everyone a little bit about it.
Lake Granbury, we are located about 40 minutes southwest of Fort Worth, Hood County. We go part into Parker County. We're a water supply reservoir. We're about 8,700 surface acres. It's a really neat place. It's a town that stays busy all the time with activities. Fishing is always good. We have lots of tournaments. Probably almost every weekend almost has a bass tournament of some kind on the lake.
I was going to say, what is the most popular thing to fish for out of Granbury? Like, what's good out there?
Bass fishing has been great. I know there's been actually some TV shows filmed the last couple of years for crappie fishing on Lake Granbury. Crappies kind of came back pretty strong. Stripers and hybrids, always a pretty hot topic out there. Just a good little spot.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a lot of short-term rentals out there that draw a lot of people, vacationers, and
Yeah.
so in fact, on my way in, there was probably a tournament going on. A lot of boats headed to the lakes.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a lot of full-time residents, but some of the other lakes aren't. They're more of a weekend lake. So
Right.
we got lots of full-time folks on the lake, which is good for the lake because we've got eyes that help us with limited number of staff that help us kind of watch different things. So
Right.
it's a good community base that really supports the lake and they take pride in their lake.
I love that. How old is Lake Granbury now?
It founded in 1969, so it's getting on up. Not quite Social Security level, but we're getting there.
All right. So when people are out there on the water, they often feel like they're in this bubble of safety. How common is drowning when we're talking about this? What are we talking about?
There's a lot of misconceptions, I would say, that, if I can swim in a pool, you can see the bottom. In lakes, there's underwater hazards, where it stumps. So a lot of people will jump in and there's stumps under the surface they don't see. There could be old, hazards as far as old trot lines that you get caught up in. Just lots of shelves where you walking out and you're waist deep and all of a sudden there's a hole and you just slip off and a lot of times you panic. And so there's a lot of hazards and, as the lake kind of gets cooler, hypothermia can set in really fast and panic and all that stuff. So yeah, I've worked numerous drownings where you're 20, 30 feet from the shoreline. And
Huh.
it's really unbelievable that after the fact, it's like, how does this even happen? But it does happen, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Drowning is not like you see on television.
What do you mean by that?
On television, you see them, they'll be underwater and they'll come up and one, and they'll be back down, they'll come back up. It is not that way. It is sudden and it is silent. It can happen in mere seconds. TV made it where you're splashed in and carrying on. I mean, it is something initially, but true drowning, it is sudden and it is silent, and it can happen just within a second. So,
Yeah, so I read some just crazy statistics. There is an average of 10 fatal drownings a day in the US, according to the National Drowning Prevention Alliance. And for every fatal drowning, there's another 5 to 10 people treated in hospitals due to non-fatal drowning injuries. Also, about 23% of child drownings happen during a family gathering near a pool. In 2024, 103 kids drowned in Texas. 53 of those were either in a backyard pool or a community pool, according to the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
please gotta understand Lake Granbury, it's a river. It's a dammed up river. You don't know what's under the water. I talk to school kids every year, and we tell them part of our little safety deal is look before you leap. And before jumping into a pool or something like that, you got to look before you jump in. But in a lake, we tell them that you don't ever want to just jump into a lake, because you don't know, being a flowing, active river, you don't know if something, maybe an area that you swam in 2 weeks ago after a rain event, there may be a log that got washed in that is now in that area where you jumped in before.
Right.
There may be a washed out area that from the recent inflow that exposed a big rock. Water depths are constantly changing from erosion to you'll dig out a spot here and you'll add something here. You may jump in, it may not be where it was 4 foot deep, it may not be a foot deep. So you look before you leap into a pool. You don't want to land on somebody already swimming in that area, but in a lake, you don't leap. You wade in, you walk in, you go in slow.
Between a couple hundred yards apart, there might be a 20, 30 foot depth difference, so there's areas where you would think, okay, it's really deep over there, but it's really shallow. And there are times where the water is more clear than usual, but really encourage people to use those boat ladders to ease into the water and just wade in, from different docks and things like that. Wade in and ease in there.
And even if you can swim, you can have swim lessons. You can be an Olympic swimmer. If you're in a lake, you really need to be wearing a life jacket, because you don't know what could hang your foot underwater. I mean, life jackets work.
I always challenge them. What if you're unconscious? Can you swim then? There's number of boating accidents where people become incapacitated, unconscious, and you don't have a life jacket on. I mean, it can be catastrophic. So
when you get thrown out of something like that, if you're boating down the lake or even jet skiing down the lake, you possibly could hit your head on something. And very, very good point. I mean, can you swim unconscious? No, not very well.
If you're headed out on a boat or, the swim beach or anything like that, we provide life jackets. We give away tons of life jackets. So if you need a life jacket, please reach out to us. We will definitely, furnish those at any age and any size. But we just want people to be prepared, conscientious of water safety and the hazards that it has. There's just a lot of areas where misconceptions. You could be at a busy swim beach and there's no way anybody can drown. But if there's not a dedicated person that's watching each individual, I mean, you have hundreds of kids out there. I've worked accidents where kids drown in the swim beach, where there's so many different adults around that there's just no way it could ever happen, but it does, unfortunately.
That's happened on Granbury, unfortunately, several times. Every year we give away hundreds of our water watcher tags. And we tell parents all the time, you're at the lake, you're at a swimming pool at the house. You have one person that is dedicated to watch the kid, not on your phone. You're not in conversations that are reading a book. 15 minutes, you're constantly watching little heads in the water. 15 minutes, you swap off with another adult and you can go relax. You can go visit. You can do whatever. You got another adult watching. And 15 minutes, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not sitting there, I always call it the palm devil, your phone. You're not sitting there on the palm devil, sitting there reading email and Facebook or whatever. You're watching kids.
Yeah.
We get into a whole debate on swim lessons. You go to a swim lesson for 4 days a week. It is so much more involved than that. There's so many more levels of swimming, competency of swimming. Swim lessons are important. Swim lessons decrease the chance of drowning by, I think, 60, 70%. But having that confidence and continuing with swim lessons, just if you do swim lessons one summer, do a second level the next summer. Get with a licensed swim coach or someone that actually is certified to teach swimming lessons and do that next level. They learn if they get in trouble, they get tired, they learn how to float on their back. They teach them, it helps them be calm. Okay, I'm in trouble, I'm getting tired, I can roll over how to float. It's so crucial, and there's so many more stages and steps of it. So
If you reach out to your local Red Cross office or YMCA, a lot of times they offer swimming lessons
Yeah,
or
okay.
can direct you towards swimming
absolutely,
lessons in your community, in your area.
absolutely. So a lot of people don't think water safety in the winter months. I was a kid once, believe it or not. You get a bunch of cousins together and brothers and sisters, you're going to be playing tag and running or whatever. Somebody stumbles and falls in.
Right.
Tips I would tell folks that have swimming pools with fences, lock your pool gate. If you have a fence going out to your dock, lock that. Make sure that they can't get out on that dock. You're not thinking water.
Right.
The kids are thinking, man, we had a lot of fun out there last year. They may go crawl in the boat. They may go stand up in the boat. It's in a slip or something and fall or something like that. But keep it covered. If you have a pool cover, keep your pool covers on. But main thing, if you have gates, lock the gate. It's just keep them from getting too close to that water that where something can just innocent fun holiday turn into a tragedy just in a split second, just for somebody running and stumbling or throwing a ball against the edge of water, leaned over dock trying to grab the ball out of the water and then get overbalanced and fall in. So
Yeah, I would say through this time of year, most people never intend to be in the water. They just end up in the water
absolutely no.
by misstepping or whatever. So I would say if you have a dock, think about installing a permanent ladder, so people get in and out quicker, or if you have to rescue somebody getting in and out. They make these throw bags where you can throw, a rope out to somebody, throw rings, anything like that you can have on the dock that's readily accessible. If you really hit the water this time of year, it can bring your body temperature way down really fast.
Yeah, the National Weather Service says that body heat can be lost 20 times faster in cold water than if you were just standing out in cold air. It's really important to remember that you should dress for the water temperature, not the air temperature. That beautiful 60-degree day can give a false sense of security. Just because the weather is nice doesn't mean the lake got the memo and will be warm enough to prevent cold water shock. Always, always check the water temperature if you can.
It's way colder than you think. I don't know what it is right now, but it would not feel too good to get in the water right now. Some of these guys fishing and things like that, most of the time a lot of the tournaments require you to wear, an inflatable life jacket just in case you do fall in. But this time of year is kind of one of those, I would say, key times of year to just be aware that if you fall in the water, have a way to, warm up, get out of it. A lot of duck hunters this time of year, they have waders on, they have all this gear on, they're headed out, 2, 3 in the morning to go find the perfect spot to duck hunt, to claim their spot. With all that gear, if you do fall in, you have waders, those waders fill up. So a life jacket it's gonna be hard to get back in the boat. Have a contingency plan. It's what I would recommend is think through those different scenarios. And a lot of these areas where we have duck hunters, it might be a little bit more rural. I would say cell service is getting better, but might have, hey, if I don't check in after this time or you don't hear from me, send somebody. There's a thing called a float plan where, hey, I'm headed from, this place and this boat at this time. I'm going to stay for this long. This is when you anticipate, me coming back. So
Yeah.
they'll come look for you.
Yeah, so someone's not waiting hours or days to hear from you again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Make sure you wear your life jacket outside your coat, especially if it's an inflatable life jacket. You don't want your inflatable life jacket inside a coat zipped up.
Yeah, no, that makes
It
sense.
can't expand and actually work. So make sure if you're using the inflatable type of life jacket, put it on the outside of your clothes. That way it can expand and do its job and keep you safe. A lot of hunting gear, or they call it a float coat, is actually a coat. We use them for our police, our lake rangers use them for winter time. It's actually a coat, heavy coat that's made into a life jacket. You've got they're amazingly warm too. So, but they'll float you and
I would say if you're primarily a duck hunter, hunting out of a boat and not typically out during the summer months, but just inspect those life jackets, make sure, hey, there's no rips. A lot of those, older life jackets ride in some type of, hatch in the boat and they're muddy and, they're just disgusting. And a lot of those times they're not serviceable. So just making sure we're pulling those out, letting them dry out, inspecting them. If you bring in some other guys on the boat, making sure they're having life jackets, they know where all the, the required safety gear is on the boat. a lot of those boats are smaller boats as well, so they're easy to tip, easier to get stuck, all that stuff. So you just be aware.
Well, speaking of life jackets, can you just walk into the store and buy anything that you see off of the shelf? Is that okay?
The main thing, make sure your life jacket is Coast Guard approved.
Oh, okay.
They're all weight rated from some infants, child, youth, and adult. Adult sizes will have actually chest sizes inside of them. So the main thing, make sure it's a good Coast Guard approved life jacket.
What's the intended use? A lot of these Coast Guard life jackets, they're rated for a specific, mile an hour. So if you're tubing, you have to have a rated life jacket for those activities, water skiing, anything like that, wakeboarding, wake surfing. Just going down there's a lot of literature, there's a lot of websites, but I think we even actually have some videos that show you how to be properly fitted. Make sure it's, once you get wet, it does rise above, the shoulders. Just be aware that there's so many different options. There's so many different, price range, all that type of stuff. If it's something you'll be wearing every day, with fishing, or if it's a work vest, there's a lot of work vests that are, certified for welding and electrical work and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of special use work, life jackets out there as well.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. They're even putting more now emphasis on the impact rating, because jet skis are so much faster, and riding a tube is so much, and weight boats, some of them go kind of slow, but still you got to make sure the impact rated to protect you cold weather or warm water. So
Imagine it's easier to feel if a life jacket fits you properly versus trying to see if it fits your kid properly. Is there anything you can do to help ensure that that's the right?
what I tell parents a lot of time, if they complain that it's too tight, it's usually probably about right.
Okay.
When you put your thumbs under the shoulder strap, you don't want it to come above their earlobes, come over their ears. You want to make sure it stays down.
Okay, so you loop your thumbs under it and then lift.
Yeah, we just try to raise it up, make sure it fits good and snug. Yeah, I tell a lot of parents a lot of times, once your kid's been in the water 5 to 10 minutes, pull them out, recheck it. Sometimes the straps will stretch. Sometimes it'll do something. It'll become a little bit more loose. So readjust, recinch, make sure it's still good and snug. And
So let's say somebody is out there playing on the dock or on the water and their friend or family member falls in.
If they fall in, I would say first thing, just call 911 this time of year, because the water, temperature and everything, they're going to need probably be checked out. So that's first. Depending on how far they are, a person that has fallen in, they can't touch the bottom, they're in full panic mode. If you jump in, they're going to try to climb you, unintentionally. They could possibly drown you. So if you have something that you could reach out, fishing pole, a paddle, an oar, anything like that to, hey, grab hold of this and pull them in, is probably safer. If you have a rope, ski rope, anything that where you could throw out there to them, anything that floats, throw them a life jacket. Say, hey, just hold on to this. Then once they settle down, they're not in panic mode, maybe go out there and rescue them. I've worked several drownings where the person that was in the water first ended up drowning the next person in panic mode, just trying to climb them unintentionally, or they both drowned. So that shock of that initial, water hitting your skin, it kind of puts you into shock. So you're not thinking clearly. So if you're playing around the water or anything like that, maybe put things out. If you've got family around, think of putting life jackets out there just as a contingency and be better prepared. So yeah.
we teach it reach, throw, go.
Reach, throw, go.
Reach something out to them that's not your hand. I'll do demonstration with the kids, like at a school on a stage where you butt friends in the water need help. You reach your hand out. They're bigger than you. You're unbalanced. They're going to pull you in. So reach. Have something in your hand. Reach something to them. Throw something to them. And then if all else fails, then you go for help. But then with the kids, we're telling them, okay, first thing you do, you want to go to the lake. 1, you ask permission. 2, you make an adult go with you. So going for help can be quick. And the adult's going to see what's going on. But like we teach reach, throw, and go. Just a quick little reminders. But yeah, always have something in your hand to reach to them, because somebody in Dylan said, somebody in a panic mode, they're already not thinking straight. I mean, the only thing, the cold water shock, I read some notes the other day that gasping for breath and rapid breathing from sudden immersion can be triggered in water temperature as warm as 77 degrees. The shock and the panic of the cold blast are going to hit quick. Think ahead of these scenarios before the holidays come up. Like say between the pool gates closed, you don't have the fence at the water, have something thinking ahead. I mean, something that you don't want to think about bad things happening, that you want to be conscious enough and thinking far enough ahead that will help prevent something bad from happening.
Yeah.
If you do it in advance of family or friends coming over, then you're not chancing getting distracted while everyone's coming over from doing those things.
And it can be like a temporary ladder. A lot of these retaining walls are pretty tall, so trying to get someone back up, could have like a temporary ladder. Just some type of contingency. And being on the lake, you never know when a boat breaks down, they drift into your dock, and maybe you're not prepared because you don't have anybody there, but you might be called in to help rescue someone. So just any different scenario that you could think of to prolong benefit anyone around the lake. So
Yeah. So with colder water, what's the difference between falling in when the water's cold like that versus maybe during the summer?
Cold shock can be severe and dangerous in water 50 to 60 degrees. So it starts affecting your cognitive impairment. You're not thinking clearly, the panic,
heart rate,
your heart rate, physical incapacitation, your muscles are starting to start clamping up. So your ability to actually, if you can swim, but if you have that cramp, then it's going to start affecting your ability to move. Physical limitations are going to start, you're going to lose feeling in your hand and your fingers. And like I said, hypothermia, when your body core temperature drops below 95 degrees, you start thinking about your normal body temperature, 98.6. The hypothermia can start when you drop below 95. It's not a very big point spread.
Right.
Adrenaline, your heart's pumping, but yeah, you're inhaling water potentially. I mean, all that kind of stuff it depends on, the overall health of the person that falls in and, how long they can tread water and different things like that. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Plenty of people, find life jackets cumbersome or hot or annoying. What do you tell people who say, I'll just keep it under the seat. I'll have time to grab it if something happens?
State law says a child 12 and under must have it on if they're in a boat, if that boat is not tied to a dock or at anchor. And we see a lot of people that'll be fishing. They'll have a child maybe in the second back seat of the boat fishing, and you're trolling along. Even if your boat's under power with their trolling motor, a child 12 and under must have a life jacket on.
Okay.
If they're stomach or fishing. So just the comfort level of the adult and their abilities. I mean, under a seat. I mean, I would at least want it either sitting on it or holding it or having it with an armrest in a seat, but somewhere beside you.
Not tucked away.
Not tucked away.
readily accessible.
Readily available, really
Yeah.
accessible is the kind of the rule. Unfortunately, we catch a lot of people on the lakes when we do a water safety check. They'll have their life jackets all in a zipped up bag in the back of the boat by the engine compartment. Okay, so where's the fire going to start in the boat?
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's going to start by the engine. What's going to be the first thing that burns up? Your life jacket. So not a great place to store them. Check your life jacket every year before you start the summer. Because if your boats are stored in storage compartments in the boat, make sure there's no been water in there that's getting them molded. Make sure when you check your straps, there's no rips or tears, pull on them. They got to be pretty rugged. So pull your strap, check your buckles, check your zippers, make sure all that stuff's going to work. Make sure there's no little small tears or rips or mold on the jacket like that if they've been in a boat compartment all winter. So the jacket has to be serviceable before it's effective. One, for your safety and your guest or your kid's safety, and two, by state law. So,
Is there a standard shelf life for life jackets, or does that just largely depends on use and the type?
Yeah, I would say how they're stored is probably one of the more important things. If they're in a cool, dry, environment, they'll last longer. I've heard it before where the actual print on the life jacket, that the Coast Guard, if you cannot read it anymore, then it's probably degraded past its useful life.
Okay, yeah.
If it has any rips or tears, or if one of the buckles is broken, you can't replace that buckle. It's totally unserviceable. Cut it up. So someone, you throw it in the trash, someone finds it, that they don't try to use it. Over the last, 20, 30 years, the life jackets have become less cumbersome. They're a lot more comfortable. I would invest, especially with kids. Yes, my daughters, they hate to wear them. But if you can invest a little bit more money in the more comfortable ones, they're more apt to wearing them, in situations where it's not a knockout, drag out fight trying to get them to wear a life jacket.
Right.
A lot of the cheaper ones with the straps, especially go between the legs, they can, be very uncomfortable. So you're trusting this device for your life safety. So, I wouldn't put a number on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
worst thing to do is a life jacket that you've been all day on the lake. Put it back in a closed compartment in the boat. The boat sits there all week in the heat, the mold and the mildew is going to build up on it. I always try to air your life jackets out. I like to hang them in the garage, hang them on the back porch, let them get aired out good and dried before you storm land a boat.
Yeah. No, that's a good tip. If someone has fallen into the cold water on the lake or in the river, once you get them out, you've already called 911. Is there anything you can do while you wait for emergency services to provide?
Whatever clothes they have on, I'd probably get them off, get warm blankets, anything that you can do to warm up that core body temperature, bring them inside, bring them by a fire, anything that to kind of, bring feeling back to their extremities and things like that. So
Some kind of warm beverages, warm tea, something like that. Don't use alcohol. Everybody says, oh, it's a good, get a little shot of whiskey to warm your body up. That's a false warm. That's not good at all. And you sure don't want to give it to a kid. If you're going to be out in the wintertime, plan ahead. Okay, what if I do get wet? Have a dry change of clothes in your truck. Have a blanket in your truck. When you get back there, you can get dry. You can get warm quick.
Flare matches, anything like that.
Anything.
To build right, if you can get the land, build a fire, warm up.
Be thinking about the worst when you're trying to have your best fun. If you go prepared, you won't need it. When you're not prepared, when you're going to need it. That's usually my luck. So
Yeah.
keep your cell phone in a dry bag. Keep it zipped up in a Ziploc bag somewhere. If you do turn the boat over, dog jump down and retrieve and turns your boat over, then you've got your phones at least dry that you can call for help.
Yeah. I would say if the person's unconscious, try to get them to regain consciousness, obviously CPR, anything like that. If they're in and out of consciousness, try to keep them awake, anything like that kind of keep their cognitive ability going. So, yeah.
What have we left out that you guys want listeners to know that maybe we haven't touched on?
Secondary drowning.
Oh, okay. Tell me what that is.
You go into the water. It's not really a medical term, but I've heard when your body falls to a near drowning episode, it can occur up to like 48 hours later. You ingest water. You when you're breathing and struggling, you have water in your lungs, and it's something like that. You don't get it all out. I mean, there's been cases where people and children have died maybe 24 hours after a near drowning episode for this little unknown kind of a situation that'll occur. Things to watch for would be like difficulty breathing, extreme tiredness, changes in behavior, persistent cough. You're trying to cough that water still in here, trying to cough that up. Chest pains, vomiting, difficulty of speaking. I mean, any kind of near drowning experience, cold water, warm water, you really need to see a physician.
Okay, yeah.
A children pediatrician, somebody like that, and they'll be knowing to check for all these signs and symptoms and things like that. I mean, the child has a close call or something like that, falling in the plane. Oh, we get you ordered up, you'll be fine. You may be out of the woods now, but you still got to be thinking ahead. Unfortunately, it does happen some.
Well, on the secondary drowning, typically at night with kids, because they lay down, your lungs, fill up with water. It's harder to breathe, and that's a lot of the time where secondary drowning does, happen. Unfortunately, yeah, just go get checked out. I mean, why not? That's my question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Why not?
Okay, Dylan, Kyle, this was very helpful. I appreciate you guys taking the time and come in and talk about this. This is so important.
Absolutely. We're glad to do it. And like I say, one of us are almost always around the office. So you're always welcome to stop by the Granbury Lake office or any of the lake offices, any of the rangers or anybody like that, PK or Limestone. They'd be glad to visit with somebody. We're always glad to have information share about and things like that. And they can always reach out to you guys if they have questions as well. So.
Yeah, we have lake maps to show where, the safer, I would say, in quotes, places to boat and some of the swim beaches and any of the water safety literature. I mean, if you need help sizing a life jacket or you need a life jacket, feel free to.
Yep. But you'll have some left from last year. We got some left over, so we'll be glad to fix you up.
Anyone listening that wants a free lake map, you can just email us at information@brazos.org, and we are happy to mail you one. We have maps of Lake Limestone, Possum Kingdom, and obviously Lake Granbury. So just remember, it's not about being a survival expert, but about torching that dangerous lie we tell ourselves. The kind of lie that whispers, it won't happen to me. Unfortunately, the numbers don't lie. Drowning isn't just a problem for other people. It happens to people who, just like you and me, took a small risk they thought was fine until the second it wasn't. Be smart, be prepared, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Unpacking the Brazos River.